Okay, we have to do this one pretty quickly because the camera's actually got no battery. This camera kind of seems to leak battery. So it needs charging up every time I want to do this, which I haven't done for the past 2 times. So we've got 8%. So we're going to do this as quickly as possible. So today is June 10th. There's a lot of flies in my face. It's not very sunny right now. And this is kind of an update on where I'm at with the whole France thing. So last video, we'd been rejected for the 3rd time. I was having a meeting with my lawyers, I believe, and we were going to figure out what to do from there. So at this point, had a chat with the lawyers, didn't realize there's actually more than one type of entrepreneur visa, which would have been good to know to begin with, because I thought there was only one type, which you would have to spend 30 grand on, which, long story, I'm not going to explain the whole visa, but basically you have to put 30 grand into a company to get that visa, which was not doable. But it turns out there's another visa, which is the Profession Libérale visa, which basically is you present a business plan to a place called the Dreets, or however you say it in French, which is the administrative body which basically says, yes, this is a business that would work in France or in this specific area of France, because they do, most of the administrative stuff in France is between areas. So the Bordeaux kind of area is Nouveau Aquitaine, but you probably say that completely differently in French. So that's who I am submitting a business plan to right now. So I've been writing a business plan for the past two weeks, something like that. And my lawyers are currently looking over it. I wrote it in English, and then I've translated it to French as well. So once I get the go-ahead from my lawyers, I'll send them over the French version, and they will submit it to the Dreets, because I'll be honest, that whole process, I tried to look at how to submit to the Dreets, and it's not straightforward at all. So if they can deal with that, screw it, they can deal with it. It's actually the first time I came down here where the water's actually up. Look at that. That's crazy. So yeah, so the next steps are, once I've submitted to the Dreets, I need a positive opinion on the business from the Dreets of Nouvelle Aquitaine. So they're like, okay, yes, this is viable here, and it's good for the economy here, because it needs to tick a bunch of boxes. And if I get an approval of that, then I can apply for the visa again, and then the consulate in London can still be like, yeah, no, you can't come. So even if I get a yes on the business, I could get a no from the visa people, but it's more likely that I'll get a yes from the visa people, because the actual Dreets in Nouvelle Aquitaine have said, yes, this is a viable business, this business plan is viable, and everything works. So we're still stuck in limbo, and I have no idea how long this is going to take, because Nouvelle Aquitaine is the biggest, I don't know what to call it, basically it's the biggest administrative area in France. It covers most of the west side of France, which actually makes it better, because if it's not economically viable for me to rent a place in Bordeaux or Livourne, then I can go north, or I can go further south, and I can find cheaper places in more countryside areas away from cities, just while I'm setting up the tissue culture lab. So I don't even know if I told you that. It'd be a tissue culture lab is the business, but you'll see that anyway in the videos if we're successful. I totally forgot that I've got all these different accessories for this camera, like a battery handle, which would have been useful in that situation, but obviously this was purchased for France and it's not really been used other than walking around. So we'll finish the video here. I don't know what's wrong with the hay fever today, but it's a bit crazy. So yeah, the next steps are Dreets approve or decline the business plan. Then we go to the consulate, apply for the visa, either get turned down or approved. If we get approved, then we can move to France. That's basically how it goes. But Nouvelle-Aquitaine, as I said, is the largest administrative area in France, so they're going to be getting the most amount of applications all the time. And from my understanding, the Dreets are literally the place that deal with every business everywhere, all business affairs. So they're going to have a lot of work. So I can only hope that there's some sort of a department or something that deals with potential businesses coming into the country from foreign nationals. That would be my hope, because then the amount of applications that they get is going to be a lot smaller. But in the meantime, as I said, running out of money, potentially need to get a job. And the other thing I want to just add on is the whole Australia thing is just impossible. It would be, I would literally have to go to Australia and work for someone else. That's the only way it could work, and that is not what I want to do. You can get an Australian visa for starting a business, but there's a list of approved types of business, and I'm pretty sure what I want to do, tissue culture, and the extension of tissue culture is not on that list, I don't believe. I can double check it, but I don't think it is. And there's so much, like, so many things that could go wrong, and I'd have to get rid of literally everything. So I'd have to get rid of all of my plants, I'd have to get rid of my car, I'd have to get rid of everything that I own, and then start all over again in Australia, which doesn't sound like a good idea. So what's going to happen is if the Dreets say no, then there's nothing else that I can add to my business plan. I already know that. It's a solid business plan. Just like my last applications were solid for the long stay visa. It's a solid business plan. So if they say no, I'm going to have to stay in this country and start the business here. Is the basics of it, which I don't want to do. But I feel like my hand is being forced at this point. If Australia are going to be super picky about the businesses that they accept, and France say no, potentially, then I don't really have a choice, to be honest. Unless I want to go to a country where it's easy to get into, but then most of those countries are poorer countries, which means your customer base is a lot smaller. You can do international deliveries and things, but it's going to be hard to get onto the world stage if you're in some random country like in Malaysia or something. Plus, I know nothing about countries around there. So I like Singapore, but it's a literal city. So it's not, and it's very expensive. So that's definitely not an option at all. But yeah, that's where we're currently at. So I will update you guys once I know more. I'm currently waiting for my lawyers to get back to me, as I said, and then I can translate the documents. Well, I've already done it, but I can send them the translated documents, and then we can get the Dreets application in, and then we're just waiting again. It's just waiting and waiting and waiting. My stuff takes a couple of days. It's all the waiting that's making everything take longer. Right, well, I've got nothing else to say, so that's where we're at, and I will see you guys in the next one. If I look like I'm crying, it is hay fever. It's only hay fever. That's why my nose is a little bit swollen. So yeah.